YouTube, how's it going? Thanks for watching another one of my videos here. This particular video was a trip I made to Sargent Beach down along the Texas Gulf Coast, and it was by far one of the best days of flying that I've had. I mean, just epic day of flying. Hopefully I'll have some better ones in the future, but for now this was kind of tops. And there's my flying buddy Roger taking off early, and I get in the air right behind him here. And I thought I'd show, I got foot drags along the beach, got some wing bumps in here, and I thought I'd also make sure and not leave out a couple of the little mistakes and places where things didn't go quite as well as they ought to. I need to pay a little more attention and get my act together. And the first one's this first flight. You see it take off nice, had the brake lines cleared, but I made a couple circles around and realized my tip steering line was kind of tangled up in one of the risers, and probably could have got it out if I'd have busted it in the air, but decided, hey, let's get a little landing practice along with getting on the ground and clearing that up before we go off again. So we did that, and I'd landed down in the lower parking lot, thought I'd fix it there, but then as I was watching the wing, once I brought it down and seeing that water close to me, decided I would not go ahead and mess with it down here at the lower parking lot. So go ahead and walk it up, get a few more tips of advice from my flying buddy, my mentor, Mr. Roger, and off we'll go again.
There's a nice wide open sandy area down here.
Yeah.
And you can come in there and practice touch and goes, or you can come in there and practice those power landings I was talking about.
Yeah.
And just like I said, as you're getting lower, just kind of stay on the brake a little bit, stay on the throttle a little bit, and you'll get slower and slower as you get closer to the ground, and you can almost just touch down,
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. When you got wind like this, you can do it all day long.
Yeah, right down there is just the place?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll get set up again, get Roger in the air, and I'll follow him up here in a second and get off for the first of my 3 epic flights. So first order of business for the day was head north on the beach. Along the beach, this was a little bit of a downwind run, so I stayed relatively high for most of it. Roger's cruising a little bit lower, but I couldn't resist getting a little bit lower, not too low, didn't want to go too fast downwind, but chase my shadow a little bit here. Finally, we reached kind of the end of this island, or at least there's a wash over there. I don't know if it's officially the end of the island, but we'll turn around and start a nice slow cruise back up the beach. A lot of low-level flying. And as you see here, I got one of my first wingtip bump or touch. And one of the nice things about having a more experienced guy flying with you is you get to sit there, you get to be the guy that just flies straight and level as you can, and let him do most of the work. So I think we got a total of 3 wing bumps in for the day. It was a great first start my first day. I think I got 2 of them here on the video. So this next one is a lot more solid bump. I definitely felt this one. So after a couple wing bumps, it was time to get some serious foot dragging practice in. I drug my feet inland a little bit, short distances across the ground pretty cautiously. But again, part of what made this day epic was having the nice soft sand of the beach, nice headwind to be able to fly nice and slow, and just take my time kind of getting used to the idea of doing a foot drag. And first trip up the beach, I had my trims full in, flying as slow as I could. Made it real easy to do. It also made it real easy to occasionally to land, and where my foot drag kind of, a little bit of friction, that would actually come to a stop with the wing and keep flying, of course. So next time, a second trip up the beach, I went ahead and let the trims out a little bit, got a little more speed, so no stopping when I would slow myself, that little bit of extra slowing down and dragging your toe through the sand, or your foot, sliding your foot on the sand. So we get set up for our second trip down the beach. Roger gets in the air, and I'm going to be pretty quick behind him. So we're getting off in the air. One of the things I mentioned earlier was I want to make sure I include the stuff that didn't go just ideal. Maybe something I had to adjust or had to deal with during the day. And one of those things was on this second flight, the air-fuel mixture, my carburetor seemed a bit off. I got down the beach and just wasn't it wasn't throttling up to full throttle reliably. It kind of sputter in the mid-range, and occasionally it cleared. So having done one round of foot drags up the beach, I couldn't deal with not having a properly running engine and being able to get another round or two in. So decided to go ahead and land out, lean up the carburetor, air fuel mixture a little bit, and see if she'd run a little better. And good news, after a little bit of fooling with it, I got it running good, and we could launch back into another round of foot drag. And so that brought an end to the second flight up and down the beach today. So third flight was a little more interesting. It's another one of those learning experiences. Had another instance where my tip steering line was caught in a riser, and I should have detected it here as I was trying to take off. It was really pulling me to the left. Thought it was just maybe, I don't know, I just wasn't handling the wing right, but it took me to the left where I was going to run into my buddy's wing. I had to kind of lay it down and abort the takeoff. Here I'm finagling the wing, getting it back away from his, back to my left as I'm facing it. Go ahead and take off, and once I got in the air, again, that's when I realized I had something going on. I didn't know what it was initially for the first moment or so, but had a pretty, I guess I wouldn't call it severe, it wasn't mild either, a moderate turn to the left. What it was is the tip steering line there was caught in the risers, and it was pulling, it was making me turn, and it took me a minute. So I just went with it. I stayed on the throttle enough to keep climbing a little and tried to kind of straighten it out here by pulling on my right tip steering line, but I didn't pull aggressively enough. I still wasn't absolutely sure of what was going on. So just circled a little. Didn't like going out over the water, although I do have flotation. But it was kind of a situation where I wasn't flying where I wanted to, and I hadn't been in that situation very often. Wing was good, everything, but yeah, eventually I figured out what it was, and basically just kind of got the tip steering line undone and continued on for my nice third evening flight.